Hello, today is the birthday of St. Teresa of Avila, born in Spain in 1515, one of the great spiritual writers of the Catholic Church, indeed one of the few women to become a doctor of the Church. Today also, for those of us who are Christians, it's when we begin to get our minds and heads again around the meaning of Christ's suffering on the cross. And St. Teresa thought that one way to do this was to try and imitate that in her own self, and she used a technique of prayer called flagellation, and it was used by many of the great spiritual leaders of the church down the generations. You used a small whip to lash your own back, and it would have really hurt. And the thought was that by hurting, by making yourself suffer like that, you are becoming one with Christ. There was also the thought that you might be purifying yourself. You were, as it were, punishing yourself for your own guilt, and that this was a way of saying to God that you were really very sorry. I think this is a complete misunderstanding for me of the point of Jesus' death, which was really to say that we don't, that we can't do anything to make up for our own sinfulness. And if we're going to become one with Christ, as indeed Teresa was right, the New Testament does invite us to do that, but that doesn't mean to say that we have to imitate his sufferings. What God wants from us is to respond to his free gift, his love shown by Christ on the cross, which says, I love you anyway. You don't need to feel you've got to punish yourself in order for me to love you. I just love you and forgive you in spite of anything you've done wrong. And if you want to be one with me, don't make yourself suffer, but do as the prophet Micah said when he criticized the people of Israel for thinking they could, through sacrifice, make up for their own sinfulness. He said, no, what God requires of you is that you show justice, that you love mercy, and you walk humbly with your God. That's how we need to respond, not by feeling we've got to deal with our own guilt, or to become one with Christ by our suffering. The other possible way in which St. Teresa thought she was coming closer to God through this technique was by saying, well, if God shows his love for us by Christ's suffering, so maybe we should show our love to God by our suffering. That it was a way of showing how much God means to us, how much we wanted to be his servants by making that physical sacrifice. But once again, I think what's asked of us is not that we should unite with God in that way, but that we should show God how much we love him by the way we live our lives of service, lives of giving to others, lives of caring. And so today, as I think and prepare in this Holy Week for the remembrance of Christ's death, I'm so grateful that it was such an enormous gift, a sign of the power of God's love and the extent of God's love, such that what's required of me is not that I punish myself for my sinfulness and deal with any guilt I have that way, but to just accept with gratitude the love that God offers me and show that gratitude in a life as best I can, close to Christ's, by following his example of love and service of others.